Not the Footy Show.
Another grand final. How do you feel?
Yeah, really blessed to be part of this team. We work really hard every week and we reset every week, every Monday. We look forward and we're blessed with another opportunity to go back to back. So we've got another tough job in front of us.
In the background, I can hear the Penrith fans singing the song. What does it mean to you, once again, for them to be part of the ride?
Yeah, it's a great song, man, and it's good to be back in Sydney this year. We didn't get to do it in front of you guys last year, so hopefully we can bring it home.
You got Parramatta. They've beaten you this year. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, they had a tough match last night. We watched that game, so it's Battle of the West, man. It's going to go down to the wire, and we love that stuff, so let's get it on.
Yeah, it's special. Still doesn't mean anything. We've got next week. Fly back tonight, have a couple of beers, rest up, watch the game tomorrow, and get ready to go. But no one gave us a chance coming up here. No one gave us a chance in the heat. Let's go.
Talk me through the last 4 minutes. It was manic. It was just defending.
That's what you need to do to win these top games. And I think it's special, but as I said, one to go.
What does it mean to you to be playing in a grand final next week?
Yeah, look, not many people want to jump on the back of us. Not many people believe in us. It's us. No one's got to break us. We said it last week. One to go. Let's enjoy the week.
Good everybody, welcome to episode 260 of Not the Footy Show. We have a grand final in 2022. I'm Warrick Nicolson. That's Robb Cox driving. And we have the Parramatta Eels into their first grand final since 2009 and the Penrith Panthers into their first grand final since last year. Cocksmith, the Prelim finals have been played. The two victors worthy?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Both well and truly outplayed their opposition, I think. And especially Penrith, a little bit of a shaky start, a little bit wobbly, a little bit rusty, and maybe a little bit rorted. And then it came good. I think they're both worthy winners.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We'll get to the Parramatta game second, we'll do the Penrith game first, but just as a summation, I've got no dramas with these two teams being here. Just shows you, though, how a media can completely and utterly lose their nerve when it comes to picking grand finalists. Because pretty much Parramatta lost that first game to Penrith and it was like Parramatta can't do anything. Brad Arthur's lost his job for the third straight year. I mean, we weren't exactly singing Parramatta's praises to win the comp when they got not beaten by Penrith, but we didn't dismiss them. I mean, we didn't say they're going to drop out completely. So, some balance here, even though we both really don't love Parramatta that much.
No, I don't like Parramatta that much, but at the end of the day, I think Brad Arthur's done a good job, and I said that earlier on. That if they kind of went out in a fiery mess, it wouldn't be his fault. At least not enough to get rid of him. They've still got their player issues, and I'm still going to keep that under my hat until after the grand final.
Indeed. So the two results: Penrith 32 beat South 12 after trailing 12-0. And Parramatta 24 beat North Queensland 20. But they sort of had the lead for the first half, got to half time, and then in the second half, they did a bit of comeback with 15 to go. So well done to Parramatta, well done to Penrith. Let's go with the Penrith-Souths game. And South Sydney started like a house on fire. How good were they in the first 20 minutes?
They were very good, mate. They were very good. They surprised Penrith, and what we're seeing from Penrith for the last couple of weeks is this, right? They keep Appy on the bench until around the 18 or 20-minute mark, and then they put him on, and then Penrith get a lot more creative. Well, that kind of blew up in their face a little bit last night. I think they needed Appy a little earlier than 18 minutes. They probably needed him around the 10-minute mark.
Yep.
The sting was out of the game, but they were already I don't know when the tries were scored, but they were already at least one try behind. I think
20th minute they were down 12-0. Well, the 20th minute they were down 12-0.
And they needed Appy big time by then. One more try, mate. I mean, look, I guess it's the age-old thing. What if? But one more try could have seen Souths doing a number on Penrith. But Penrith, as they do, stuck with them and grinded it out a little bit and got to 12 all at half time.
Yeah, threw some pretty magical plays, really, from Penrith at the back end. But it's just on South for a sec. Cam Murray, wow, how good was he? He just kept digging into that line and tracting those defenders in, and it just carried space for South Sydney's attacking options. They looked good until they pretty much had to go to their bench, and they just found wanting. Demetrio said it in the post game. He said we just ran out of troops, but that was somewhat by design the way your roster's been set up. I mean, you sometimes, you lose some key players, and losing Burgess and Havili is big, but who was your next player? Your next player really was Liam Knight, who played like 3 games this year, did his ACL in New South Wales Cup, but they just didn't have any depth, and they didn't really develop Moali that well. He didn't play a lot of minutes this year, so when they needed him to play minutes, they didn't even pick him in first grade. Those kind of things I find a little bit surprising. I mean, that's not to disparage the job that Hame Sally did and Chi Cam and Cartwright, but they're just not going to change the momentum, which is what happened in this game where South jumped out to 12-0, and then Appy comes back on, and it still feels like South are on top, but they couldn't get that third try, and then Appy gets a quick play the ball from kick out, runs through the meat of the South Sydney defence, and then Latrell Mitchell decides to throw an attacking play with 30 seconds left in the first half, and Brian To'o happened. What did you make of that play itself?
Oh, mate. I mean, look, it's dangerous, isn't it? It's you got when you're playing against Penrith, you really got to cross your T's and dot your I's. You can't. I mean, to coin a phrase, mate, you can't go off half comped and do stuff on your own and decide to. They needed different things from the Latrell last night. We'll get into that a little later. But look, I think once Penrith started to get, by around about the 30-minute mark, they started to find their groove a little bit. And that could be something about having the week off. It could be starting Appy a little bit later, but I think they started to find their groove, and then they became dangerous. We saw what happened in the second half. They basically scored 20 unanswered, 32 unanswered points all up after 12-0 down. But, you can't mess around with Penrith. You've got to keep your wits about you. And unfortunately, Latrell last night was pretty ordinary.
No, he was MIA. Let's be perfectly blunt for a second. I mean, look, it was an easy target, but maybe he thought the game was at Trelliance, the poor bloke, because he just didn't show up to Stadium Australia at all. He just didn't.
Look,
he tried nothing in the second half. He was unsighted in the second half until he put, I think, Jed Cartwright through a half gap with about 2 minutes left. I watch him closely. I love what he said in the post game. That was the Latrell we want to see, and we'll jump on that at the end of the game review. But mate, he stood back and just watched people play in the second half. And if you want an undercurrent of just how ineffective he was in that second half, look at all 3 Penrith tries in the second half.
Yeah,
just look at him. Because where's Latrell? He ain't where he's supposed to be, and he's standing there watching.
If you want a perfect example why Latrell should be playing centre rather than fullback, last night was it. Right? He wasn't bringing the ball back. He wasn't interested in fielding the ball back. He wasn't even interested in getting to it first and passing it to his winger. Right? Latrell is not fit enough. He's too big, and he's not fit enough to be a fullback. I don't care what anyone says.
Yep.
He's probably the best left centre in the world, and he didn't play 1 game there this year. He's probably the best left centre in the world. He's too fit and or lazy to be a fullback.
Yep.
He can't remain in a game. Look at Dylan Edwards last night. We know Dylan Edwards is a freak, right? He's Penrith's fittest player. But that's what you need at fullback. You need to keep going. You need to, not just, kind of put yourself into the game when you feel like it or when you're up for it. That's not how you should be playing football. I love Latrell Mitchell. I think he's one of the greatest players in the world at the moment.
Yep.
But he's not a fullback. I mean, Wayne Bennett had the world convinced he's a fullback. He's not a fullback. He's a centre playing fullback.
We had to find a way to sign him, mate. Remember that? South Sydney had to find a way to make him sign away from the Roosters, and they said you'll play at fullback. And they got rid of Adam Dewey, who'd wanted to be fullback there for a while. He got punted. Look, just quickly back to the To'o one. We'll go back to Latrell. But the To'o try is something special. That's one for the all-time finals tries.
That was epic, wasn't it? How he
so fun to
busted
watch.
through I think he palmed off.
It was Cody Walker.
And Cook, Walker. And then Walker and Cook tripped over each other, or two or three of them tripped over each other, and Toto just went for the line, I was giggling watching that one. That was actually like, what's it called? Dad's Army kind of stuff, Keystone.
Someone made a point that what's Walker doing trying to steal the ball when pretty much a tackle ends the half? That was a good point. Poor old Campbell Graham's still going to have nightmares about dropping that ball for the next 6 months. But the play that I look at again, and I'm not bashing here, I'm just observing. Latrell threw the pass that Campbell dropped, all right? And as he threw the pass, his momentum's not going towards the Penrith try line, or not going towards where Penrith's line was. It was actually going somewhat backwards. And he's not the first bloke on the scene. He saw a couple of guys coming across, and you see him, he coasts. And then when Cody Walker gets palmed off, Latrell decides, I better put my foot down. It's little things like that. You know he is capable of putting his mind to it. It's just at times, and unfortunately for South in the biggest game of their year, I'm going to say it, but Latrell's gone missing in September for the third straight year. He just has.
Yeah, look, mate, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's sore, injured or whatever, but look, I just don't think he's fit enough. I just really don't think he's a 6'3", 106 kilo fullback. They don't exist anymore. They really don't, unless you're someone like Tom Trbojevic. But even then, Tom Trbojevic missed more games than he played this year. Yeah. Again, the day of the big fullback is over, I think, mate.
Yeah. So it goes to 12 all at half time, and then it's pretty much a procession after that. Jai Arrow gets hurt, plays 39 minutes total. Tavita Tola only played 41. Tane Milne gets sent off, and somehow that was a grade 2 reckless high tackle, Cocksmith. I would love to see what a grade 3 looks like, because if it means they have to bring a crowbar out into the field, that's probably what it has to be. That's a disgraceful tackle, and he's got form. 2 weeks ago, when he should have been sent off and given weeks, he got a fine for taking off Sualii's head. He did another. I looked it up this morning. He did one where he took off Dane Laurie's head. He got 10 in the bin and a fine for exactly the same thing. He runs in, and he's done this in his career. He runs in and he tries to decapitate the bloke. It's as simple as that. He's trying to make as much damage as he can, and he leaves his feet. Now, I don't know how the NRL judiciary looks at these things and goes, oh, no, it's just careless when the bloke leaves his feet. You don't leave your feet if you're trying to stop the guy from scoring legitimately. You are looking to make him pay for the fact. And that decision, though, and we'll get to the other game soon, but that decision by Ashley Klein to send him off, I think, secured his grand final refereeing job.
Oh, absolutely. Ashley Klein won't be missing out on the grand final this year, even though he's had some very, very ordinary performances, not only on the field, but in the bunker.
Yep.
But last night was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Milne deserved to be sent off. He deserves every one of his 6 weeks that he's going to get. And, mate, 2 inches lower, he breaks Lenu's nose. 2 inches lower than that, he breaks his jaw. Now, it's no wonder Lenu wanted to knock his head off on the sideline, a la Stewart and I forget his name. Blair. That's it, Adam Blair. So, how can you blame the bloke for, he got put out of that game by Milne because he got another head knock. Milne really is nothing more than a failed centre.
No, he's a thug. He's a thug. He is a thug.
A big body and a grub.
Yeah. It's just not good
6
enough.
weeks, enjoy it, Tano.
Yeah. There's a thing about that. If you watch the replay of the actual tackle, Lenu's dropped the ball before Milne comes in to hit him. Lachlan Elias strips the ball off him. And Latrell Mitchell's there as well. Like, that's the thing. It's not even a pure, one-on-one try-saving effort. There's 2 other blokes there. The ball's already dropped. Yeah. And then he belts him in the head. He lines up. And
it's
just quietly.
It's a grab back.
I'm sorry, I'm not. Please don't take this the wrong way, but Latrell gives him a facial after he's on the ground, not unconscious.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Latrell, mate, you don't have to do that. You just don't. Because we get to the rest of the game happens. Latrell's caught out of position on a bunch of kicks by Penrith. Smart play by Penrith. They saw he was in the line. Cleary just picked him apart. Luai picked him apart. Tungo scores. Lenu scores. And then Cleary puts the icing on the cake at the end. And if you want to get a still frame of where Latrell is in the line at that stage, look it up, because he's just not in the same neighbourhood. But that ends the score 32-12. But then at the full-time thing, I noticed a couple of things. I'll give Latrell credit, is that way he spoke after the game is the Latrell that we wanted to see in the last podcast. The humble, we know there is a humble Latrell there, and if it's bravado or whatever it is to try and get up, and he's been watching, pro sports in America and how they just, talk the talk the whole time to get themselves up for games. You look at Latrell in that interview and you just go, dude, more of that, please, more.
Thank you for an interview with Latrell. Latrell, such a disappointing way to end your season. Can you sum up the emotions right now?
Yeah, look, 12 up, you go from, it is another better team. They stuck with their process and took it away from us.
As you said, you were 12 up. You went into half time with the scores level. For them to run away with it like that, can you put your finger on where it did fall away?
Yeah, I know, just the speed of the game and just the processes. Like, we didn't stick 2 hours and we didn't do what we wanted and they just outplayed us, simply.
I saw you have a little moment there with Nathan Cleary. Can you tell us what you said to him?
I just said, go and get it, mate. It's hard to do what he's doing. He's a class player and he's going to be the best halfback in the game and well deserved for it. But he's worked really hard and I've seen him develop because I played against him mostly through the juniors and he's come a long way. It's a credit to him.
Well said, and you should be really proud of the season that you've had.
Thank you, and thank all the South fans and sticking with us today and through the year. And I know things didn't go our way, and just let you know that we dug deep for you and we'll continue to do so. South Sydney, we never give up, and it's just how the cookie crumbles at the moment, and we go back to the drawing board and we do our thing. But,
That's right. There is a likable, nice, humble dude, and you know what? The thing that occurred to me more than anything was Danica Mason, I think, was interviewing him, and she put the mic. She said, Latrell, blah blah blah. What did you think of that, or whatever she said? She put the mic there. The crowd booed, and Latrell, even though he kind of grinned when he heard the boo, you could tell it hurt him. He's had enough of the booing. It more or less, you could see the pain on his face, even though he was smiling.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a bit of a, shall I say, a soft underbelly to Latrell, and what we're seeing in the bravado isn't what we like. It's not, it might be okay to sell a game here or there, a bit of talk, but you don't need to live it. Just be yourself, mate. Just be a nice bloke.
That feels like what he is.
I've heard great things about him.
That feels like what you saw there is that's Latrell. And anyway, so South Sydney get bundled out. 5 prelim finals in a row, 1 grand final appearance. They go down 32-12. The other thing I noticed in the post-match was that they were subdued, the Panthers. That one hurt them. That one stung them. They're looking like a team that has played in 3 straight grand finals. I reckon they're sacked.
I don't agree. I think they're just not going over the top, mate. They're so used to winning games like that. When I say like that, I don't mean in that fashion. I mean of that importance. That they know that there's one more to go, and I just don't think that they're overplaying it. I think that's they should be pretty fresh. They haven't had a game in nearly 2 weeks.
I don't know. Last night, that's the chief energy officer, Jerome Luai. That's again, maybe more of what Luai is that he's a little bit more reserved and he actually sees that the hard work's got to be there rather than the flash and flamboyance and the / arrogance. And I liked what I saw. Don't get me wrong, Cocksmith. I liked the fact that they were subdued a bit, that they weren't going crazy. Even the team song, you have a look and there's a few players in there that are so busted that they're not jumping around like they normally do. And even the ringleaders who love that stuff, that's not to the same level that they do when they beat, the Tigers by 50.
Yeah. But the job's not done, mate. The job's not done. We're in a new competition.
There was a telling interview though with
they've got 1 more to go
with Freddie and James Fisher-Harris. I don't know if you've seen it. You might have turned the TV off by then, but there's a bloke that everyone likes. He plays. He's got moments where he hit people high every so often, and that's less in his career now than it was at the start. But he's just a goer, and he was like, "Yeah, next one. Let's just do the next one." Freddie tried to talk up the RCG clash, and he said, "Yeah, it's what it is, but we'll just get to the next game." Really likable bloke, that fella. And Penrith win by 20. Then that's the underscore in this game is that they didn't win by 2, they won by 20. It's a good sign for them.
Yeah, well, I agree, mate. I think. Look, I just think that they're keeping their head on. They're not going over the top. They don't need to celebrate that hard. They're going to have a pretty busy week, not only in preparing to play Parramatta, but also in all of the festivities that surround the grand final. They've got to keep their energy. They've got to keep a lid on their energy, because if they don't, they'll be sapped by grand final day, and they know that. They've been to a few of them, so
exactly.
I think they're just going to keep it nice and easy.
Okay, so that's the game. Penrith 32, South 12. In the other match, Parramatta fans, how are you feeling? I got a few that are mates of mine, and there was one video that one of them sent to me of Dan Palmer. He's down there in Canberra, and he's watching with a whole people, a bunch of a social club, and you can see the moment hit him as he's sitting there after full time. He jumped up when the full time siren went, when they won 24-20, and he's going, yes, yes, yes. And then he sits down, puts his hands in his hand, and just kind of looks down at the ground, almost like, we're there. You can see it, just that emotion hits him. He doesn't bawl and lots of tears and stuff. It's just clear that, the impact of we've made the grand final, all those hopes and dreams that I've had for however many years. I know they've got there a few times and they're disappointed. But this time, if you're Parramatta, do you really have nothing to lose? Or is the whole pressure thing that we were talking up a week ago still relevant? Because they're playing Penrith is what I'm saying.
I think there's less pressure on them now than there was last week, to be honest.
Yep, 100%.
I think that they're just going to have to throw everything they can at Penrith and not give up the ghost at all. They've just got to keep going, because they've got nothing to lose now. They're not going to be favourites to win. Yep. Penrith are, as everyone will tell you, Penrith's the best team in the comp. If you beat the best team in the comp, you've done an amazing thing. If you lose, you're just doing what people expect. So I just think there's a whole lot less pressure on them now that they're in, than there was before they got in.
We'll go to that game in a second, but just right now, the market is $1.39 for Penrith, $3 for Parramatta. How does that sound to you?
Sounds like exactly the way Parramatta would like it.
Exactly right. The game started, and it was North Queensland. They looked superb. They spread the ball like the first or second tackle. They surprised Parramatta. They got down to the 20, but they couldn't score. And Parramatta kept scrambling. And you're looking at it going, hang on, this is good signs for Parra, because North Queensland have started really well and you've held them out. And you just had to get to that period where you could start breathing again. They managed to do that. Mitchell Moses throws a 3-metre forward pass to Papali, who kind of takes about 3 steps and sort of pauses for a second, like, are you going to call that forward? No? Okay, I'm going to go. And he sets up the first try for Penasini. And I actually thought Parramatta, even though it was 12-all at half-time and they'd had Tamalolo get binned for the Cowboys, I actually thought Parramatta played better in that first half. Am I way off the mark there, or do you agree with that?
I agree. Look, I think Tamalolo's binning was a disgrace, to be perfectly honest. That wasn't intentional contact. He stood there with Isaiah Papali'i.
Mm-hmm.
He stood there for 15, 20 seconds with him, making sure he was all right. You don't do that if you just tried to knock a bloke's head off. He did. There was no intent to do that at all, and even if there was, it's still, well, even if there was, it has to be direct, intentional, hard contact to the head. It was a shoulder.
He didn't launch himself. He didn't launch
non-stop.
himself.
No.
Like, that's the key part with the shoulder charges. You launch yourself at them. He didn't launch himself. And we know this for a fact, Box Smith. It was almost like the NRL proved our point. If the Cowboys in the grand final, he's getting a fine for that. But because they didn't make it, he gets
totally.
It's just,
totally.
Like, if the NRL had any brains, what they would have done was fined him, okay, with them not making the grand final, because that would have said, that's what you would have done otherwise. But now it's like clear as day. There's no way known they would have given him 3 weeks.
Mate, it's window dressing, because who's he playing for in the World Cup?
Tonga. Well, when he can.
So there'll be a couple of trial games. Just like Joey Hargraves. There's 2 trial games and 1 pool game that he's going to miss. Then it's business as usual. It's forced to.
So he gets binned. That was after just after Ruben Cotter walked through the defensive line with one of the softer tries of the semi-finals. But don't worry about that, kids, because Parramatta then went and scored another soft try when Campbell Gillard just walked through a gap that Latrell left open for him. near the line. And that to me this is where I looked at the game and went, this is where you've lost the game, North Queensland. As good as Parramatta might have been scrambling defence and holding you out, they let in some Kleenex tissue soft tries. Like, they were so poor. Even the one that Penasini scored at the start, Holmes and Taumalungi, they just play the whistle. They didn't play the whistle. They just stood there and thought, it's going to be called forward pass on Papali'i and let him go through. Then Latrell overreads on Campbell Gillards for his first try. And in the second half, the same thing. Just what he walked straight through, Campbell Gillard walked straight through Jordan McLean and Taumalolo. I mean, it boggled my mind that you have 2 weeks to prepare for Parramatta. You know they're going to go through the front door, and they went straight through the front door because you left it open. That to me is where the Cowboys lost this game, was their ruck defence. It was atrocious.
Look, I think that was Taumalolo's read, if I remember correctly, mate. He's got eyes only for Reed Marnie, and it was just a bad read. Reed Marnie steps out of dummy half, nice and quick, and it grabs Taumalolo's attention. He's watching Marnie, and then RCG walks through a hole. I mean, pretty soft try. Let's not forget that the Cowboys had 30 scored on them, a week before. 2 weeks before.
Yep.
It was 32-30. It was a high-scoring semi-final, and defence wasn't the order of the day, and I don't really think it was the other night, even though they've been very good during the year. But, mate, I want to go back to that forward pass of Mitchell Moses, because people are glossing over that. Take that try away. Take the try away, and what's the score?
I know.
Okay, I'm not saying...
And it was the first try of the
Parramatta
game as well. Yeah, no, it was the first try of the game as well. It sets the tone for the whole match. And it was the decision that lost Atkins the grand final. The moment that got through.
Let me tell you, I'm a Grant Atkins fan, right?
So am I.
I do like Grant Atkins. But he's had a couple of absolute howlers this year. Now, not only he, but the touch judge that was in line with it, what is that Derek doing?
He was actually in line.
What is he doing?
He was
in line with it.
He was in the line with the forward momentum of the pass. That was the best part. He wasn't even in line with where the line was.
He was in perfect line. Great positioning, but you've got to call it, bro. Like, seriously. Now here's the thing. I will sound contradictory for a moment.
That's all right.
I'll contradict myself.
That's our podcast. Yep.
The ball was caught around about, I would say, and I'm being nice, about 30 centimetres in front of where it was thrown from. I've seen stop frames. I've seen the video. I've watched it. The problem here isn't that. The problem here is that Mitchell Moses' hands threw the ball forward.
100%. Yep.
Okay. It's if we want to talk about forward passes, we're always talking about, there was momentum and he actually threw it back, so that's okay, even though it floated 2 metres forward. Okay, I accept that. I understand a little bit about physics, and I understand that if you're running at 30 k's an hour, okay, but his hands faced the try line he was trying to score at. He faced the opposition goal line with his hands going forward. It was a forward pass every day of the week, and anyone who tells you it wasn't is smothering.
Blue
absolutely
and gold,
smothering. I can understand Grant Atkins missing it, right? Because maybe he wasn't, even though he's the guy that's in charge.
Yeah.
But fact of the matter is that there cost him the grand final.
100%.
There's no doubt in my mind. And also the binning of Taumalolo, although that could have been a bunker call, but he's still got to wear it.
Bunker.
He's still got to wear it.
Yeah, but he has to do what he's told.
He was the one that did it.
But yeah, that's clearly he
again. Hold on. We've spoken about this before. That process has to change. The guy that lives and dies by the game is the guy that's the official of the game. He should be the one he should be getting recommendations from the bunker. But if he doesn't, he can look at a replay on the big screen and go, I don't think it really deserves that. So no, I'm not going with the recommendation. Stick it up your jacksie. Yeah. So I'm not really a big fan of it. But either way, forward pass got the first try, howler from the referees, and another final that North Queensland have been rorted over. It happens over and over. I know that nobody wants to see.
Yeah.
No one wants to see North Queensland in a grand final, especially people at head office, because they know what that means. They know that if they're playing South and North Queensland, terrible crowd. If they play Penrith and North Queensland, terrible crowd. I'm not saying it's fixed. I'm just saying I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That I reckon there's a little bit of subconscious bias.
There's always optics and there's always perception and the like. But the thing about this game was it got to 20-12 with 28 minutes left when Talangi scored.
Yep.
Cowboys this year, they go on in those games. They really do. But then you had that one we spoke about before, about the Campbell-Gillard waltzing through McLean and Taumalolo. You just can't let it try like that because bang, they scored then. And then Sean Lane pulls off a miracle ball to Sivo to get the lead. But the play that
how
I
good
want
is
to
his
do,
back? How good's the back end of Sean Lane's year been this year?
he's in the Kangaroo squad. It's just a matter of whether he makes the team or not for the actual games.
Mate,
he's got to go.
So good.
He's fantastic, and he runs hard lines. He's not just a big bloke who waits for that broken play and then runs across field and gets 1,000 tackle breaks. He actually tries to break the line with a line. It's football. Yeah. But Reid Marnie, we gave Reece Robson the credit, and I thought he played okay. He didn't play great the other night, but that he would possibly pick apart Parramatta's middles. But I'll tell you, the man who did, and I thought he was the best player on the field, was Reid Marnie. His options in attack for Parramatta were superb. He picked apart North Queensland's ruck. He's going to be a massive loss from next year, but it doesn't matter now because they're in the grand final. And he's the one that went down the short side, picked up Lane, he picked up Sivo. Then Parramatta just held on. And people know I'm not the biggest fan of Latrell. I'm probably overhyping it a bit. And it's just for the sake of it. But he had a couple of plays where he wasn't seen for 70 minutes. He really wasn't. He didn't have a game. He had a really good game.
Very quiet.
The game before against the Cronulla Sharks, he was superb. And he was. I'm not
very quiet game.
He
Going
was
back
ordinary.
to Reid Marnie for a moment.
Yep.
Going back to Reid Marnie for a moment. He's a future Kangaroos hooker. There's no doubt in my mind that he's very much Ben Hunt is treading water at hooker for Queensland at the moment. But if Reid Marnie keeps going on the trajectory he's going, he'll be Queensland hooker next year, and probably also the Kangaroos hooker. I think he might even tour. We'll see how many players he takes. And how many hookers he takes.
I think that him and Dylan Edwards are in that zone of they're really good, but there are just better players or incumbents who are better now.
Put it this way, I think Marnie's better than Damien Cook.
See, I disagree with that, but that's okay. We can disagree.
But you're an unabashed Cook fan.
I am. But apparently, Mitch Kenny will be the hooker for New South Wales next year, and there's Coruscant come off the bench. That's because we just do what Penrith do. So,
who said that?
No, that's what we do in New South Wales. We just do whatever Penrith's doing, and then we put that into the New South Wales team. It's genius. Parramatta win, but there was a couple of plays that Latrell had at the end. There were two in particular.
You just want to lay the boot into this poor bastard, don't you?
No,
you really do.
I just go, mate. His comment in the Cowboys Sharks game to his teammates was "own the moment." Own the moment. Remember that? Own the moment. Own the moment.
I know.
And he gets the ball about 40 out. Sivo's up, and he has a look up, and he goes, "I'm going to kick it," and he holds back for just half a second, half a meter, and kicks it into the Parramatta player. And I think Dylan Brown picked the deflected ball up. That's the season for the Cowboys. That was the moment, and the Chad just for a second doubted himself. It's not fair on his.
He'll know it,
but he'll know that's the moment because even though that Felt put a tiny foot in the touch, a few minutes later. That was the play. If Felt goes, because Felt goes over untouched, CV is not turning around. The QE2 is not turning around to get back to Felt on that play. And in the end, Parramatta, they get it through. They win 24-20. Congratulations, Parramatta. Congratulations, Parramatta fans. Brad Arthur. I know that Clinton Gutherson didn't give you a hug at the end of the game, and I did notice that little bit of cool interplay right at the end of the match when he went to shake his hand. Superb. You've done the job. You've got your team into the grand final. Cowboys, they didn't go out in straight sets, Cocksmith, but they've gone out a game before, and it was their defence that ultimately cost them.
Yeah. Unfortunately for them, mate. Like I say, I feel bad for him getting a little bit rorted on that try, but ultimately, overall, I think Para were the better team. They've still got cause to complain though, because that changes the whole game.
Yeah, I'm here with Cowboys co-captain Jason Taumalolo. Tell me what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, mate, I've never lost the words at the moment.
Talk us through those last 5 minutes because she's had the chance and opportunity to win it. Just couldn't get there in the end.
Yeah, it's just, they're pretty disappointing. The guys worked pretty hard, put ourselves in a position to play for finals footy, and it just fell short. So.
Ultimately, look, I think it's the grand final that the Western Sydney want to see. It's the grand final the NRL wanted to see. So everyone should be happy.
Yeah, we picked this one. We said if the NRL wanted one grand final at the start of the finals, it was Parramatta and Penrith. It should sell out. It should have sold out by now. I think they've got to do fan allocations on Monday, but they were still advertising it last night on the telecast that you could get tickets last night. So you don't miss out. If you want a grand final of every moment really feeling like the whole crowd's into it, this will be that grand final. It really will be. There'll be more Parramatta fans there than Penrith. I'm almost guaranteeing you that. And you will basically have a chance to go with the fairy tale or pick the team that is trying to establish themselves in that dynasty class. And 2 out of 3 ain't too bad for them.
And you know what?
Yep.
And the other thing to look forward to on the way home on the train station, there'll be fist fights. It's going to be great.
Ugg boots at 10 pace. It's going to be fantastic.
Yep.
We're going to wrap the podcast up. We've only got 4 minutes left in the Zoom call. We did have a question from Mickey, our mate Mickey, who we did discuss. And it's funny enough, it's a question about pressure. So he obviously listened to the last pod. He asked this, and we'll cover most of it in the grand final preview during the week. But he said, my question has to be, what does Parra have to change mentally going into the grand final to know they can win it? Because beating Penrith in the regular season isn't enough. Right now, what do you think mindset-wise Parramatta have to approach the GF against Penrith?
It's all or nothing. It's last play. They've got to play this like it's their last game ever. That's the way they've got to play it. Yep. Don't get too desperate. Don't overplay your hand. Wait for the moments to come to you and just play it like, put all your effort into it and play it like you'll never ever play a rugby league game again. It's the only way you can play Penrith in this situation, and hope that, that your systems, things like pressure and Cleary and getting up early on Yo and things like that are enough to, to stifle it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they've got a player who embodies that, and that's Clinton Gutherson. As much as I may have some comments about, the exuberance that he shows, he is that kind of player. He will play the grand final like it's the last game he's ever going to play. The key for Parramatta, I think, is that Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown have to follow him. They just have to play to that level. They have to hit that level of urgency. Because the forward pack should do the job, and Marnie is in form, but it's up to Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses to go with Gutho, as far as I'm concerned, for them to really have a good chance to upset Penrith, who I don't think are unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. Cocksmith, there is a Dally M to be awarded early next week. I reckon Nico Hines is a sure thing. Who are you picking?
Yeah, look, I think Nico's got it pretty much in the bag as well, given that obviously the way that they do the points is not in finals time. It's only up until the last round. So yep. I reckon Nico's got it.
Yeah. Now, Ben Hunt will make a run. He just will suffer from the fact that St. George didn't win many games at the back end of the year. I think you'll see a bit of a run from Teddy and possibly Joe Tapine as well towards the end of the season, because they both were superb for their sides. That's episode 260. That's been Rob Cox. I've been Warrick Nicolson. We will speak to you probably Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see how it sort of unfolds. We want to definitely do it after Dally M night. And we'll give you our predictions for the actual grand final. Congratulations to Parramatta. Congratulations to Penrith. They've proven to be the best two teams in 2022. Cocksmith, take us out.
I absolutely have, mate. Looking forward to the grand final. Look forward to talking to you during the week, buddy, and I'll catch you then. Yep, see.
Not the footy show.
Yeah, I thought they were very impressive last night. I thought their scramble defence in particular, in the heat, everyone was talking about the heat, but they kept turning up for each other, so it's going to be a great test. And they did get us earlier, twice in the year earlier, and we're going to have to be better than what we were tonight, I think.
You've been sleeping over there?
Pepsi.